Why do some people remain sharp, active, and full of life at 78, only to begin fading quietly just a couple of years later? You might have seen it happen. A grandparent who used to garden every morning now rarely leaves their chair, or a neighbor who once walked the block now waves from a window. Many assume this quiet decline is simply part of aging, something written in their genes, or a matter of luck. But after over a decade working with older adults, I've come to believe that's only part of the story. In fact, many of the people who fade after 80 don't do so because of illness or sudden trauma, but because of subtle, silent changes in their daily lives. These changes are easy to miss. They don't scream for attention. They whisper, slowly pulling at the threads that keep us mentally, emotionally, and physically strong. One day you're walking to the corner store and chatting with the clerk. A year later, you order everything online. One day you rise with purpose. A few months later, mornings feel heavy, routines vanish, and time blurs together. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at an older loved one and thought, they used to be so lively? What happened? If so, you're not alone, and you're not imagining things. The truth is, aging doesn't happen all at once. It's not a sharp cliff, it's a gentle slope, unless we know how to push back. And here's the hook. The biggest factors behind that slow slide aren't just about diet, smoking, or lack of exercise. They're more hidden than that, woven into the fabric of our habits, our environment, and how we engage with the world around us. In today's video, I'll walk you through 5 surprising reasons why most people struggle to live well past 80. These reasons are rarely discussed, often overlooked, but absolutely vital if you want to stay sharp, independent, and fulfilled for as long as possible. More importantly, I won't just name the problems. I'll give you practical solutions, grounded in both science and real-life experience. Because this isn't theory for me. This is personal. I've seen people turn their health around in their 80s and 90s, not with magic pills or expensive programs, but with small, consistent shifts that rewired the way they age. And trust me, the earlier you recognize these patterns, the better. But even if you're already in your 80s, it's never too late to begin. One of the most heartbreaking truths I've witnessed is that people don't grow old in one day. They lose themselves gradually, through the fading of things that once gave life structure, connection, and meaning. If you're still watching, let me ask you something. Do you know someone over 80 who seems to have shrunk, not in size, but in spirit? Someone who's not sick, but no longer thriving? If yes, drop a 1 in the comments below. I read every message, and your insight could help others more than you know. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We create weekly content to help older adults live longer, not just in years, but in strength, clarity, and joy. So now, let's dive into the first hidden force that quietly steals vitality after 80. It's not about big traumas or life-changing diagnoses. It's much smaller than that. It's the vanishing of tiny, everyday interactions, brief moments of connection most people stop noticing until they're gone. Let's talk about what happens when micro-social engagement disappears and why it might be the first warning sign that aging is speeding up faster than you think. Reason 1. The disappearance of micro-social engagement. It's not loneliness in the traditional sense that causes older adults to fade after 80. It's not the absence of deep friendships or emotional support from family. What truly begins to vanish, often without anyone noticing, is something much quieter and more dangerous: the disappearance of micro-social engagement. These are the tiny, seemingly insignificant interactions that once colored everyday life. Saying good morning to the mail carrier, exchanging a few friendly words with a cashier, nodding at a neighbor walking their dog. These brief moments might seem trivial, but they are anything but. In my 10 years working with older adults, I've observed this firsthand. People who remain mentally sharp and emotionally resilient almost always have some form of daily low-level social contact. These interactions activate neural pathways that regulate stress, memory, and mood. They stimulate the nervous system just enough to maintain a healthy baseline. And when they're gone, something inside begins to quietly erode. I remember Mr. Leonard, 84, who came to me with no major health complaints but a subtle sense that something feels off. His daughter had started helping more, doing his errands, managing tasks for him. As a result, he stopped going to the bakery he used to visit every morning. He stopped chatting with the young man at the newspaper stand. His days grew quieter, and so did he. When I asked him what he missed most, he didn't say travel or adventure. He said, "I miss being recognized." That hit me hard. Recognition, even in small, fleeting forms, isn't just a feel-good bonus. It's a signal to the brain. You still exist in the world, you still belong, and your presence still matters. Without those moments, the nervous system starts to interpret silence as social absence. And social absence, even without loneliness, triggers physiological stress. Inflammation rises, cognitive functions decline, sleep worsens, and a sense of purpose dims. The science backs this up. Numerous studies show that even minimal daily social interactions, when absent, can accelerate aging on multiple levels. What makes this issue even more complex is how easily it hides. People think they're just simplifying life, avoiding effort, saving time. They start ordering groceries online, relying on family for tasks, avoiding outings when the weather isn't perfect. Little by little, they vanish from the rhythm of human contact. And the tragedy is, they don't notice the cost until they start to feel weaker, less joyful, and strangely invisible. If you're listening and thinking, that sounds like me, please know, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not powerless. You don't need a crowd. One hello, one smile, one short conversation per day can reset your nervous system and remind your mind that you still belong. So here's my question for you. When was the last time a stranger made you smile? Or when you felt seen, even in passing? If that moment came recently, you're lucky. If it hasn't, maybe it's time to step outside, say hello, or visit a familiar place again. And if this message resonates, drop a waving hand in the comments to let me know you're still showing up for your life, your mind, and your joy. Because now, we're about to look at another silent force that chips away at your vitality, not by isolation, but by fear. Fear of movement. Fear of injury. Fear that slowly convinces you to stop moving altogether. Let's talk about the danger of overcautious inactivity and what it's really costing us. Reason 2. The hidden danger of playing it too safe. How fear of falling slowly destroys strength after 80. The second silent reason many older adults begin to decline after 80 is something that often disguises itself as wisdom, caution. And while being careful sounds reasonable, responsible, even, it can quietly become the very thing that robs us of our strength, balance, and independence. In my experience, there's a dangerous line we rarely talk about. It's the line between protecting yourself and pulling away from life. And once that line is crossed, the consequences don't show up immediately. They accumulate quietly, steadily, until one day, everything feels harder than it used to. I remember a patient named Walter. He was 82, sharp as ever, used to take an evening walk around his block every day without fail. One rainy afternoon, he slipped. No broken bones, no real injury. Just a scare. But that moment changed everything. From that day forward, Walter stopped walking. He started sitting more, relying on his recliner and remote to pass the time. His muscles, once strong from movement, began to soften. His legs grew weak. Within 6 months, he had lost nearly 10 pounds of muscle mass, and with it, his confidence. His daughter told me he's afraid of falling again. And I understood. Fear is real. But what Walter didn't realize, and what so many others don't, is that he didn't stop moving because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped moving. The body isn't a machine that stays intact through rest. It's more like a garden. It needs movement, daily care, and gentle challenge to stay alive. When we stop reaching, bending, walking, climbing, not because we can't, but because we're afraid, it sends the wrong message to the body. The message is, you're done. And the body listens. Muscles begin to atrophy. Her strength disappears. Balance falters. And the irony? This makes a fall more likely, not less. What begins as a smart decision, I'll just avoid the stairs today, can, over time, become a pattern of avoidance that leads to deep physical decline. And society often reinforces it. Don't push yourself, they say. Take it easy. But I want to challenge that narrative. Because in older adults, strength doesn't disappear in one dramatic moment, it fades silently, in the name of safety. And we must not let that happen. There are safe, smart ways to move every day. Use the handrails. Wear the shoes with grip. Clear your walking path. Use a cane if you need to. But do not surrender to stillness. Because stillness, over time, steals everything. If you're watching this and you found yourself doing less, not because your body can't, but because your mind is afraid of what might happen, I encourage you to pause. Ask yourself, am I protecting myself? Or am I slowly giving parts of my life away, piece by piece? One walk, one stretch, one effort to stand a little longer. These are not just physical actions. They are reminders to your body. I still need you. Don't shut down yet. Speech balloon, and I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed yourself or someone you care about pulling back from activity out of fear? Drop a flexed biceps in the comments if you're ready to reclaim movement and life with confidence and care. Because in the next part of this journey, we're going to talk about something even more hidden, a force that silently disrupts your mood, your energy, your immune system, and even your memory. It's not something you eat or drink. It's not even a disease. It's light, or more accurately, the lack of the right light at the right time. Let's talk about disrupted sleep cycles and how your internal clock might be accelerating aging without you even knowing it. Reason 3, out of sync, how light and sleep disruption quietly age the body after 80. There's a silent clock inside every one of us. It doesn't tick. It doesn't chime. But it governs nearly everything: your energy levels, your mood, your immune system, even how your brain clears out toxins while you sleep. This inner clock is called the circadian rhythm, and after the age of 80, it becomes especially fragile. The body's sensitivity to light exposure, both natural and artificial, starts to play a much bigger role in how well we age. The problem is, most people don't even realize this clock is being disrupted. And that's what makes it so dangerous. In younger years, it's easy to bounce back from a late night, a skipped morning walk, or a few hours staring at a screen. But in older adults, those same habits create ripple effects. Bright morning light helps reset the circadian rhythm each day. It tells the body, wake up, engage, repair, move. As the sun goes down, the body expects darkness. That's when melatonin, a hormone essential for deep, restorative sleep, is released. But what happens when older adults spend most of their time indoors? Or wake up late and miss the morning sun? What happens when they spend hours in the evening under bright artificial light, scrolling on tablets or watching TV? What happens is the clock loses track of time. And when that happens, the body begins to operate out of sync. Sleep becomes shallow and fragmented. Energy fades. Memory grows foggy. Mood becomes unstable. And most insidiously, inflammation quietly builds. Several studies now link disrupted circadian rhythms with everything from cognitive decline to weakened immunity and chronic fatigue. One 2021 study even found that poor sleep in older adults accelerated biological aging markers by up to 30%. I remember working with a woman named Helen. She was 84, articulate, and warm, but she came in complaining of low energy, lightheadedness, and trouble concentrating. Her labs looked fine. Her diet was decent. But when we looked at her routine, one thing stood out. She stayed indoors nearly all day, especially during winter, and spent evenings in front of a bright TV before falling asleep with it on. Her doctor didn't prescribe more medication. Instead, we gave her a simple assignment: sit near a sunny window each morning for at least 20 minutes and turn off all screens an hour before bed. The result? Within 2 weeks, she was sleeping more soundly and thinking more clearly. She didn't need a new pill. She needed natural light and gentle darkness, her body's oldest language. And that's the lesson. Aging well isn't always about doing more. Sometimes, it's about restoring the natural rhythms your body is quietly begging for. So here's my advice. If you're waking up groggy, falling asleep in the afternoon, or feeling off without explanation, don't just blame age. Look at your light. Are you getting natural sun within an hour of waking up? Are you dimming your lights at night? Are screens overstimulating your brain when it should be winding down? Speech balloon if this resonates with you. Drop a sun with face in the comments and let me know. Do you get outside in the morning? Or are your days mostly lit by bulbs and backlit screens? Your story might inspire someone else to make a simple change that rewires their biology. Because in the next part of this journey, we'll move from light to something even heavier: the emotional weight we carry after 80. Not the stress of bills or news headlines, but the quiet sorrow of loss, the grief that goes unspoken and slowly becomes physical. Let's talk about emotional suppression and how the things we don't say can age us just as much as the things we do. Reason 4, emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By the time many people reach their 80s, they've endured more loss than most younger adults can comprehend. Spouses, siblings, lifelong friends, sometimes even children. And while the outside world may offer a moment of sympathy, it rarely acknowledges the full weight of what that grief becomes over time. What I've seen repeatedly in my years working with older adults is this: the pain doesn't fade because we ignore it, it becomes part of the body. It turns into fatigue, poor sleep, digestive problems, a dull ache in the chest that can't be explained. The human body isn't designed to store sorrow indefinitely. But that's exactly what happens when older adults feel they have no place to express it. Many were raised to be stoic, to stay strong for others, to hold their emotions tightly rather than let them spill. I've sat with people who insisted they were fine, yet every part of their body said otherwise. Shoulders tight, eyes tired, hearts distant. One man, Robert, 86, lost his wife after 60 years of marriage. He didn't cry. He didn't seek help. He simply said, "I'm managing." But in the months that followed, he stopped going to the senior center, started skipping meals, and eventually developed chronic insomnia. Not because he was sick, but because he was grieving silently, and his body had become the container for what his voice wouldn't carry. Science confirms what we've long known intuitively. Unexpressed grief triggers a long-term stress response in the body. Cortisol stays elevated. Immune function weakens. Inflammation rises. Hormonal balance suffers. Over time, this leads to memory loss, slower healing, and a greater risk of chronic illness. Emotional suppression isn't just about sadness, it becomes a physiological threat. But here's the good news. The human heart, even at 85, still wants to heal. And healing begins with permission to feel, to speak, to remember. Whether through quiet journaling, gentle prayer, honest conversation, or even tears alone in a room, releasing grief is not a weakness, it's an act of survival. I always tell my patients, you don't have to be loud. You don't have to explain yourself. But you do have to give that grief somewhere to go. Because what stays buried eventually begins to fester. And what is given air, even a little, begins to soften. If you've been holding something in, not because you wanted to, but because you didn't know where to put it, this is your reminder. The body can only carry so much before it starts to shut down. Let it breathe. Let it speak. Let it feel. Speech balloon. If you've ever lost someone and found yourself quietly shrinking inside, drop a dove in the comments. You're not alone. And you may never know who will feel seen because of your story. Because now, as we move toward the final part of this journey, we shift from what we carry emotionally to what we wake up for each morning. It's not grief. It's not sadness. It's something even more subtle and often more dangerous, the slow disappearance of daily purpose. And without purpose, no matter how small, we don't just stop growing. We start fading. Reason 5, gradual loss of daily purpose. Among the most invisible and underestimated reasons older adults decline after 80 is the gradual loss of daily purpose. Not grand life missions, not big dreams, but the simple, grounding reasons to wake up each morning and move through the day with intention. Over the years, I've noticed something deeply consistent in the people who age well. They always have something to look forward to. It might be a neighbor's cat they feed at 7 a.m., or a Thursday soup-making ritual for the local shelter, or writing postcards to shut-ins from their church. These aren't dramatic events, but they give shape to time. They create rhythm, and that rhythm tells the brain, you still matter. Without it, days begin to blur. Appetite fades. Motivation thins. And the inner drive to engage with the world slowly vanishes. The biology behind this is powerful. When you have purpose, any purpose, your brain produces dopamine, a neurochemical associated with motivation, learning, and resilience. But when that purpose disappears, so does the signal that tells your body to stay alert and your mind to stay active. Over time, without even realizing it, you may stop initiating conversations, skip meals, move less, smile less, all because your body doesn't feel needed anymore. And sadly, no pill can replicate the effect of meaningful engagement. I once worked with a woman named Ruth, 88, who had no surviving family and struggled with health issues. But every afternoon at 4 p.m., she would sit by her window and wave to the school kids walking home. She knew their names. They waved back. That moment, though small, was sacred. They don't know it, she once told me, but they keep me alive. Ruth didn't need a gym membership or a complicated routine. She needed continuity. And that's the power of purpose. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent. But here's what happens as people age. The things that once structured life, jobs, caregiving, even weekly social gatherings, start to disappear. Maybe the volunteer program ends. Maybe the book club fades out. Maybe health limitations prevent travel or group activities. At first, it feels like freedom. Less pressure. More time. But soon, that open space becomes a void. And if nothing fills it, apathy moves in. And that's where the real danger begins. Because when the brain no longer senses that it has a role to play, the systems that keep us healthy begin to quiet. Digestion slows. Memory falters. Muscles lose tone. Not because the body is broken, but because it's waiting for a reason to wake back up. If you've been feeling a little adrift lately, like your days lack shape or you're not sure what you're even doing anymore, please don't ignore it. That's not just boredom. That's your nervous system asking for structure, connection, and meaning. The good news? It doesn't take much to shift the tide. Choose one thing, one small ritual, one helpful task, one interaction, and commit to it. Let it anchor your day. Let it be the reason your body knows we're still needed here. Speech balloon: if you have a daily habit, no matter how small, that gives your life shape, drop a alarm clock in the comments. Or if you're looking to start one, tell me, what's one thing you could do this week that might restore a sense of purpose? Because while we can't control the years we've lived, we can choose how we show up in the ones ahead. And sometimes, living well past 80 doesn't start with what you do, it starts with why you do it. We often think aging is a single, dramatic event, a birthday, a diagnosis, a sudden decline. But the truth is, most people don't fade after 80 because of one big moment. They fade quietly, gradually, through the slow erosion of habits, rhythms, connections, and purpose. It happens so gently that they rarely notice, until one day, something feels missing. The joy is duller. The energy isn't there. The days start to blend together. What used to be a life of meaning begins to feel more like maintenance. And if you've ever felt that shift in yourself, or seen it in someone you love, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's what gives me hope, and what I've seen time and again in my work with older adults. Just as decline happens slowly, so can recovery. You don't need a miracle. You don't need to change everything overnight. It can start with one walk to the mailbox, one smile exchanged with a stranger, one moment of sunlight in the morning, one small reason to get up tomorrow. These moments may seem insignificant, but inside your body, they're doing something powerful. They're reminding your brain, your heart, and your entire system that you're still here, still needed, still alive. Each of the 5 hidden reasons we explored, loss of microsocial engagement, overcautious inactivity, disrupted sleep rhythms, emotional suppression, and the fading of daily purpose, aren't just abstract concepts. They're real, lived experiences. They're the quiet forces that, if left unchecked, can shorten not only our years, but the quality of the life within them. But now you've seen them. You've named them. And with awareness comes choice. So I want to ask you, which one of these 5 spoke to you the loudest? Which one felt uncomfortably familiar? And which one are you willing to take action on, even in the smallest way, starting today? Because living well past 80 isn't about pretending age doesn't matter. It's about aging on your terms, with clarity, intention, and heart. It's about choosing to stay connected, to keep moving, to embrace light and rest, to feel what must be felt, and to find meaning in even the smallest routines. And I'll tell you this, I've seen people in their late 80s and early 90s turn their entire life force around, not with supplements or secret formulas, but with simple, conscious decisions to re-engage with life. You have more power than you think. Not to stop time, but to change how time moves through you. You are not invisible. You are not done. You are still writing the story of your life, even now. Speech balloon: if this video resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share just one insight you're taking away, or one change you plan to make. Whether it's 5 words or a full paragraph, your story matters. And chances are, someone else scrolling through the comments will need exactly what you have to say. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more people who truly need this message. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Thoughtful, science-backed, emotionally grounded guidance for living well at every age, especially the later ones. Because remember, the goal is not just to live longer. It's to live deeper, with presence, with connection, with meaning. Thank you for being here. And I hope to see you in the next video.